Right, back to our top story now. Mpho Phalatse is back as the executive mayor of Johannesburg. That's after the High Court in Johannesburg ruled that the sitting that ousted her during a motion of no confidence was unconstitutional. Let's take you live to Buleli Tweety Jones, who's tracking developments. He's getting reaction on what happened in court today. Buleli, I see you in front of the DA officers. Have they said anything to you? I'm sure they are ululating inside that building.
Definitely, we're at the DA headquarters here in Bruma, Johannesburg. We actually are still waiting for the mayor to speak to us. We said that she will be reacting after the High Court judgment, which we just saw just about a few hours ago. But most importantly, of course, this relates to the program committee, which is a session that oversees some of the items that will be presented in council, such as the adjustment budget that speaks to service delivery, and of course the motions as well. And according to the court's judgment, what we understand here is that it also sets aside the decision of the program committee to review and of course to allow the motion to actually go ahead. We understand that that was not supposed to be a decision that was taken because the meeting, first of all, did not even hold quorum, and therefore legally it was not standing to ensure that the motion can pass. So the court set aside that, but also the court set aside the extraordinary council, which saw the removal of Mpho Phalatse from office, saying that it was unlawful, invalid, and of course dismissing everything with costs.
They also mention in the judgment, Bule, I had a peruse through it very quickly, the judge saying that he's also ruling it this way because of the fact that when they found out on a Thursday evening that there would be an urgent council sitting the very next day, it gave Mpho Phalatse not enough time, and the DA not enough time to actually try and make sure that that sitting doesn't happen, because they always deemed it unlawful. But then also there was the issue, and you were there, Bule, there was the issue of the DA calling for there to be a break for them to have caucus. Was anything said about that in the judgment? Do you know?
Well, the entire process was rushed, and essentially it was flawed. Not so much aspects were followed. When you look at again the program committee, the manner in which it was convened at the 11th hour, there wasn't sufficient communication. The motion as well being passed while the court was still in session, looking through these matters. Those are just some of the aspects which the court is ruling to say that not due diligence was followed. There wasn't as well sufficient, processes which will deem this whole motion to be passed as illegal. So you get to understand that this time around the speaker was found to be on the wrong side of the law. But when you look at what's currently happening right now as the story develops, we are getting insight that the speaker, Colleen Makubele, is currently in session and communicating with the legal team after having received these news. So they're trying to find a way forward as to what they are going to do next. We also understand that the ANC chairperson in Johannesburg, Dada Morero, has officially stepped aside after receiving those court order. And he says that they will be waiting for the next council sitting on Thursday. I spoke to some of the guys from Al Jama'ah opposition parties, and they also now saying they will bring in a second motion against Mpho Phalatse come Thursday. So technically, as much as she's won this court order, in council, she's still not having that much political support from the opposition benches, which would put her in a position of being elected as the mayor once again. Of course, this follows that decision by the Patriotic Alliance to now support the ANC and other opposition parties, including Al Jama'ah, to come together and elect Dada Morero as the mayor. So Thursday will be interesting, and for now they're saying that they will not be, being in a position of being, scared or panicking. They're just waiting for Thursday.
So that's why then, Bule, we're hearing from the Gauteng chair of the ANC and Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, telling the media earlier today that Mpho Phalatse's win is hollow. He says that some of her coalition partners and the opposition have already shown that they are rejecting her anyway. So eventually her comeback will be short-lived.
Yeah, definitely. Do you remember when the Action SA leadership held a media briefing just a few weeks ago in Sandton, they had said that they will not be working with the DA again in Johannesburg. So what that does is that it also rips the DA apart in terms of having that political support to put them in favor of having to field Mpho as the mayor once again. But I also remember when I spoke to the DA provincial chair, Solim Simanga, just a few weeks ago, he said to me that this whole process of going to court was just a matter of principle, to say that you cannot run council like that in a manner which is quite flawed and illegal, and therefore that's the reason why they persisted to go to court and challenge the council decision. But then again, you're getting that from the ANC provincial chairperson, Banyaza Lesufi, telling you that they will be taking a next step of action. As much as they support the court decision, they already know what they will be doing because they are in favor and they have the numbers which will support them come Thursday when they have to pass on another motion. But at the center of this are the residents. Residents continue to see this political, politicking play unfold, and service delivery is badly being hampered. You saw there was an incident of JPC at the center of a scandal where there still is rampant corruption and under-accountability. So service delivery is something which is affected right now, while the political play is at the center of everything in the city of Johannesburg.
And Pule, you know what, politics are not the same every day, right? One day you're mayor, the next day you're not. I mean, we've seen in the city of Johannesburg. And we've been speaking on this channel, you have as well, with the different political parties. And you mentioned something quite important, that they have the numbers. So it's a numbers game. So at the moment, doesn't the DA also have fair play in terms of what they might be able to offer some of their coalition partners, unless Action SA lets them down completely, like they said a few weeks ago?
Well, what we witnessed a few weeks ago is the Patriotic Alliance here were the ones who had the key decisions in terms of swaying their support to whoever may elect the mayor in the city of Johannesburg. You look at what's currently going on now. I've spoken to some guys in Action SA. They still saying that, the top leadership of that party is not willing to work with the DA. You've seen how they've actually been at each other's necks on social media, accusing each other of certain things and faults for the collapse of the coalition talks and agreements in the city of Johannesburg. According to media reports now, we now understand the allegations of the former mayor, then Mpho Phalatse, wanting to ask the DA leadership to work with the EFF to gun for more numbers and support to ensure that the coalition agreement can work in the city of Johannesburg. But we're getting a sense that this is something the DA is not for. The party's leader, John Steenhuisen, has on a couple of occasions made it quite clear that they will not be working with the Red Berets, saying that it's a party they definitely cannot find common ground on when having to look into some of these policies that can steer the multi-party coalition agreement going forward. So as it is right now, the DA really does not have enough support when it comes to the Johannesburg Council. It's a threat for them. It's a similar pattern we're seeing in the city of Ekurhuleni as well. When the next council sitting comes, we're getting a bit of talks from the ANC that they want to field in their candidates and remove Tanya Campbell, who represents the DA as well. It's a political domino effect, and this is something that is also threatening the DA's presence in the city of Tshwane as well, where we are seeing these opposition, the minority opposition parties, being the ANC, EFF, coming together and wanting to work together. So it'll be interesting to see how Thursday unfolds when Mpho Phalatse comes back with the team and the DA caucus to see whether they have the numbers to defend and fight against the motion of no confidence against her.
Well, we do know that the Sunday newspapers did quote Helen Ziller, the Fed chair of the DA, saying that they will not, and they rejected Mpho Phalatse's alleged offer for them to work with the EFF. And I understand, Pule, because you and I would know what happened when Herman Mashaba was mayor on behalf of the DA. That relationship went sour very quickly because the EFF accused the DA of being arrogant, the same way that these parties today, like the Patriotic Alliance, are accusing this particular party.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very similar thing that we were getting as well when the Johannesburg Council had just adjourned just a few weeks ago. The Patriotic Alliance, Kenny Kunene, is saying that the DA was very arrogant. In fact, they refused to listen and fielded in an IFP candidate as the speaker then in council. and therefore they believe that the DA, as a party that wasn't listening to them. And we understand that throughout the talks with the Patriotic Alliance, the likes of Paul Mashatile, the likes of Panyaza Lesufi were at the helm of ensuring that the negotiations actually do come to fruition between the Patriotic Alliance and the ANC and now Jama'ah to ensure that they can field in their mayoral preferred candidate, then being Dada Morero. As it is right now, the minority still has a packed support amongst each other. As the ANC, Al Jama'ah come together, their numbers are still favouring them. Despite this court order, it seems they relaxed, they're willing to go back to council, and they're willing to properly now file a motion of no confidence against Mpho Phalatse and eventually field in once again Dada Morero as their preferred candidate to be the Johannesburg mayor.
All right, Pule, you and I can talk the whole day about what's happening in the city of Johannesburg. Like they say on Twitter, ziyakhala. But let's leave it there for now. Pule Tweety Jones live for us in Johannesburg. He's waiting to speak to the reinstated mayor of Johannesburg, Mpho Phalatse.